What's up, guys? If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Also, please smash that like button on the video and enjoy the show.
Can you fucking shoot straight? When we go in this house, if I go right, are you going to go left? Right? When you pull that gun up as you go left and you're presented with two targets and one's got a gun and one doesn't, are you smart enough to not shoot the innocent person? Right? When I get shot, are you going to be able to carry my ass out of here so I don't die? That's the shit that they care about.
Yes.
Right? And there's stories that I wish more people would tell. And you know, I know we're going to talk about some business stuff, but like one of the ideas that I would love to see come to fruition, and if there's somebody out there that wants to do this, I would love to talk with them and figure out how to make it a reality, is I would love to see a movie production studio get built that only tells these stories of patriotism to help inspire an entire new generation of Americans to understand what America stands for, why it is important, and what many men in combat arms have done in order to preserve it. There's the story of a gentleman named Mike Day. And a lot of people don't know this story, but Mike Day is a Navy SEAL. He went into a building and was shot 27 times while in that building. He walked into a room. There was an ambush. He was shot 27 times. He was hit with a grenade, got knocked out. He neutralized, I believe it was four people.
There's no way he lived.
And he walked to the helicopter to get airlifted out. Mike Day is one of the biggest fucking American savages that ever walked this earth.
Whoa.
And most people don't know his story. And so when you look at that, he got shot 27 times. Mike Day took his life a couple of months ago.
Oh my God.
But when you see this guy not only was a great American in the sense of being able to go serve our country, develop other young men as soldiers, be a great leader, but he also, one of the most heroic events in the war. Most people don't know. And so when you see that, why did he walk to the helicopter? That's like the most heroic part, right? Is he got shot 27 times. Holy shit. The story is that they went into the building. He went right into a room. There was four guys in there. As soon as he walked in the building, they killed, I believe, the guy in front of him. He walked in second, gets shot up a bunch of times, falls to the ground. They think he's dead. He pulls out his pistol. His hands are like shot up and stuff. He pulls out his pistol, kills two of the guys while laying on the ground. Somebody throws a grenade. He gets hit with it, gets knocked unconscious. They now think he's for sure dead. He then comes to, the other two combatants in the room are still firing at his friends, and he kills both of them. He gets up. There was so much fire going on in terms of firefighting that the SEALs had backed out of the house. He calls his friends and says, "Hey, I'm alive. Come get me." And then he proceeds to get up and clear the rest of the house, goes room to room, making sure that there's no other bad guys and there's no innocent people. God. If I remember the details correctly, he finds a family in the house, rescues them, brings them outside. And the way he told the story is the reason why he walked to the helicopter is because it would hurt more if his guys carried him. And so you sit there and you say, and you go back, you know, why did I go in the military? Fucking Pat Tillman can do it, right? How many people who didn't want to go into the military, who didn't get told the stories of heroic actions by our soldiers, hear these stories and then say to themselves, you know what? Maybe it's pretty damn important that we have people go into the military ranks. And in the most extreme case, you're going to war, right? That is a potential option. But in the like lowest watered down version, you're actually going to get leadership training. You're going to become disciplined. You're going to be able to get all these life skills, right? And everything in between. We just don't tell a lot of the stories.
It's a high price to pay to get those, but you get it at the highest level as a result. That's wild though. So this guy just committed suicide.
He just committed suicide, which, you know, again, you hear that whole story, right? The guy lived for almost a decade, I think, since
it was 07 it happened.
07. So, you know, the guy lived for 15 plus years after that incident. Imagine what you went through. And that was one incident. He Navy SEAL, right? Like how many other things he went through in his life and eventually couldn't take it. And so you get to that point and you just say to yourself, man, these guys are willing to dedicate their lives to this stuff. And it feeds into like, okay, look at the American economic situation. we're spraying money around like we're Santa Claus around the world.
Yeah.
We got plenty of problems in our backyard.
That's right.
I'm not saying you got to pick one or the other, but I am saying that if given the choice, we got to make sure we take care of our people.
Yeah.
And then, trust me, we got plenty of money. We'll be able to help other people too, but we can't help other people at the expense of our people.
It's the same thing as like a relationship, right? If you are really fucked up and you have things going on and you do not help yourself with that first, how are you going to help your girl? Right? I view it when it comes to the U.S., and we're going to talk about this in a little bit in more detail because you're a financial genius as well. But, you know, that is a great point. Like we really, that train at some point will crash because we are on a one-way road to do that. And I think that, you know, it really affects me when I hear stuff like that, because you just look at the numbers of it. Shot 27 times, clears a whole, I forget how many rooms you said, but clears all these rooms in a house, walks out to the helicopter, whatever. The guy is literally supposed to be like this bulletproof American warrior savage. But then for whatever reason, because again, he's unknown to people like me, you know, and years later, after surviving all that shit, that's just one story. I'm sure there were a lot of others too. He can't, you know, he's been put in a position where he feels like he can't take it. And that's so heartbreaking to me.
Yeah. And look, part of it is Mike Day is not the guy who's plastered all over the news, right? But if you go and you talk to SEALs, people in special operations, that's who they look up to.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, yo, that guy is a fucking savage.
That's right.
Right? And so it's all relative to some degree in terms of everyone has someone they look up to. And at the highest degrees or levels of the military, sometimes they look up to each other.
Yes.
Right? And when you think of how does a great organization operate, usually it is you get a bunch of A players together, you set the standard really high, and then they hold each other to that standard. Yeah. And that is the epitome of what special forces, Navy SEALs, etc. do. Is you have A players who have gone through immense amount of training and selection to be in the room, and then they are all filled with imposter syndrome that I may not be good enough. And if I'm not good enough, if I'm not on my best today, the guy next to me dies. Right? That's a pretty good incentive to make sure that you're on top of your shit.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think a lot about, now bring that into the business world. How many organizations can actually say they have A players? Everyone likes to think they're an A player, right? But an actual A player.
These days, not as many as I'd like to see, I'll tell you that.
Well, part of it is there's probably a societal thing going on, but even more so is let's just hold constant. And I probably think it's more true than not. Is like there's just as many A players today as there were 20 years ago in the aggregate number. The problem is that usually companies don't get a lot of them together, right? Yeah. So what ends up occurring is you have maybe one or two A players in a company, then you got a good number of B players, and then you got a ton of C players. Well, you're only as good as your worst people.
Yes.
So you get a C plus organization, even though you got those two A players. And those two A players will leave at some point, right? And so I think that the best companies in the world, what they figured out is like, why don't we just collect all the A players and just make it really tough, right? So when you read, Elon Musk's biography by Walter Isaacson, people are like,
how is that? I haven't read it yet.
People are like, oh my God, that sounds insane. How could you work in that environment? Well, it's like, if you got asked that question, you're probably not an A player.
That's right.
Right? Because guess what? A lot of people would say, why would you ever want to be a Navy SEAL? Why would you want to work in special operations? Why would you want to, go into the military, right? All these different things. Well, like that environment's not for you.
Play with the best.
Yeah. But there are some people who are drawn to that. And the same person who might be drawn to go into the infantry or into some special operations role may not be the same person that's drawn to go work at Tesla for Elon, right? But there's also a lot of people who are an A player in sports and they couldn't care about business, right? And so it's really just like, if you are A plus, there is something that you are called to or something that you really desire being involved in, and it's usually some degree of excellence. You just want to be around excellent people doing excellent things. And that in our society has gotten pressure when people come out and say, we want to be excellent. We want to have excellent people.
Well, this is tying into a bigger point you made a few minutes ago that I think is really important. When you were talking about Mike, you mentioned you had the idea that you wish one Hollywood movie house or something was was dedicated to telling these stories. And I think that's a great idea. But we are living in a time where we've turned in on ourselves, and it feels like we are disincentivized from celebrating America. Now, I didn't even serve in the Army or anything, so you have even a bigger appreciation for it than I ever could. But like, I think I'm the luckiest dude in the world to live in this fucking country. I think, yeah, we have our flaws. I'll call them out when we do. We want to fix them. But like, this place is, even when we're fucked up, this place is so great compared to other things I've even had the chance to see around the world. And yet it feels like sometimes people will make they will make it their habit to be able to just say everything that's wrong with this and why we suck and why, you know, we hurt everything we touch. Thank you for watching the video, guys. If you haven't already subscribed, please smash that subscribe button and check out this clip's full podcast episode by clicking here or in the description below.